92 to 95 FM, 1341 medium wave. You're listening to Across the Line on BBC Radio Ulster. I'm Stuart Bailey. We started with Iggy Pop and David Bowie, and tonight that was followed by the Ravenettes, and they are playing the Limelight this Sunday, and we have 2 tickets to give away. Anybody want to stick in an email, first one in, then we'll get those to take away. The email address in atl@bbc.co.uk. Loads to come tonight, and across the desk from me right at this very minute is Brian Young and Greg Cowan from Rudy and the Outcasts in old punk kind of carnage. How are you doing, chaps?
Shame Academy is now.
Shame Academy rebranding. So a couple of reasons for coming in then. First of all then, Shame Academy, which is yourselves plus Pete Burns, are playing a special gig at the it's the Empire, isn't it? November the 6th.
Oh, yes.
And that's part of the Belfast Festival at Queen's. And there's also a book, and we're going to have some of the people that helped bring that book together talking to us in a wee while as well. It makes you want to spit. That's Shawnee and Guy. Greg, I had a quick chat with you a wee while ago, and you said you hadn't actually been performing for quite a long time. Is that correct?
I think it's 22 years. So it's going to be very interesting.
Right. So how were you persuaded from the days of the Outcasts, and you know, you had a good old lather at it, kind of. I remember you were doing really well in France at one stage.
We're very big in France. We always said that there.
Yeah.
We're about 10 foot tall there. I was very reticent actually at the very start to actually do anything like this here. I was always against sort of bands reforming and things like that there. Once I heard Brian was going to do it as well, I was kind of intrigued. And then I went to the first practice, and then I couldn't sleep that night when I went home. So I'm here now.
Right. So how kind of this combination of
Petey really, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It was Petey's idea.
Yeah.
You see, it's tied in with the book that Sean and Guy are doing, and just with talking back and forth, and they were in touch with everybody. They contacted everybody from all the old bands, and just along the way, they were, you know, as the thing took shape, there was coming up with the idea of a launch party, and well, basically this idea was put forward, and then, I mean, I said I would do it, but I would only do it if it was people from the bands back then, you know, for the launch party thing. And then, as I say, Petey's the sort of, I don't know, the man in the engine room or whatever. He drives.
Well, I think both of us said we would never reform either the Rudy or Outcast, but both of us doing it together, like sort of took that sort of bad look of it off, you know.
Yeah. So take me back then. First rehearsal as this kind of super group. Then what did you do, and where did you do it, and what happened?
Well, Petey ran Jarrows anyway, so that gave us a full sort of a rehearsal room. And to be honest, the first practice actually went well. I think that's what sort of made it. You know, but I was expecting it to be absolutely crap, and there was a wee bit of a spark there. So I think that's what sort of kept it all going.
Right. Okay, I'm going to interrupt in a wee minute then to play. I'm going to play an Outcast tune later, but first of all, a tune from Rudy.
Do you have to?
Yes, we do have to. But I kind of wrote a piece for this book, as did loads and loads of different people. Barry McElhenney, Davy Sims, I don't know, some of the other names there. Any? Did you write something, Brian?
I did, yeah, but it's that long from I wrote it, I can't remember what was on it.
It's been a long time coming. But anyway, I kind of said in part of this that one of the songs that really did it for me at the time was a Rudy song called Time to Be Proud. And I read a piece that Gavin Martin did, the guy who was one of the big writers for Alternative Ulster, and he said the same thing. Time to Be Proud was a kind of a bit of a mini anthem for Ulster punk rock. And it was never properly recorded, was it, Brian? But there's a kind of a demo version on this this Rudy CD collection, which is called Big Time, the Best of Rudy. So bear in mind that it's not a proper recording, but it still kind of gets me smiling every time. Here we go.
It's a very high price, it's a very
There you go. That was a sounder ready from many years ago, and Time to Be Proud. I think it still sounds good. What do you think, Brian? You don't flinch when you hear that, do you?
Haven't heard it in years.
You liar. So rehearsals that you were just talking about, the Shame Academy then is amalgam of really the Outcasts and Stalag 17. First song you just played, what was it in rehearsals?
Wanna Be Your Dog, wasn't it?
Aye,
Wanna Be Your Dog Stooges songs.
Very good. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
it's got only 3 chords in it, so it was easy enough to start.
Right, yeah. So, 22 years off the stage and stuff then, Greg, was it?
Well, we actually done a wee warm-up gig a couple of weeks ago in
Yeah.
Jarrow because we had to. I mean,
Yeah.
it's different. Brian's playing all the time. PC plays in about 1,000 bands.
Yeah.
I'm really, really glad I did it. Nothing could have prepared you for actually standing on a stage again. I mean, I was never nervous years ago, but by God, I was nervous that night.
Yeah, and kind of how did it kind of all go down?
It actually, well, now you shouldn't say it yourself. I think it went down bloody well. I mean, I think we're really, really good.
Because Outcasts, I have kind of very strong memories of the Outcasts. It was a very menacing band, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was all cartoon violence.
Was it?
No, it wasn't. No, really. We just said that afterwards. It sounds better.
I don't think it was.
It wasn't.
It was.
There was a certain, I don't know, we sort of revelled in that image and stuff like that there, and you sort of played up to your own image.
Yeah.
And saying that there always was like an undercurrent of violence that travelled with us.
Yeah, there was a dodgy element.
But compared to what you call violence now, like it was a few cuffings round the head and things like that there.
Yeah.
Nothing too serious.
So any of you ever kind of cast an eye on the Shell Shock Rock movie recently? No?
I don't know about
John
Bob.
Davis?
I can't watch it. I mean, I find it really, really, really excruciatingly embarrassing.
Right. I find it very heartening though. It's you forget how young everybody was. You know,
Yeah.
it must be something to do with getting old, I suppose. But for that time and for people to have such kind of powerful kind of views and a good body of creativity kind of spread over quite a lot of acts. And also how sad Belfast was in those days.
Yeah.
It was grey, wasn't
But
it?
then both things tie in. I mean, if Belfast hadn't been such a sad place, you wouldn't
Yeah.
have had such a vibrant subculture going. I mean,
think that.
it does make one thing influences the other.
Yeah. Okay, well, a cue for an Outcast track. This is again
Edit.
from way back in the day, and probably recorded on 3-track or something like that.
It's sort of a mobile phone would have the same sort of recording facilities now as
Yeah.
we did then.
Okay,
David
this is the
Shallow
Outcast.
working
I think this is still available. There's an album called Self-Conscious Over You, and this is just another teenage rebel.
I was born in 1959. I see no point in being alive. I see no point in being clean. I see no point in anything. Oh, mommy always seemed to be there to watch and scrub a little Jackie's hair, to pick it down for on a scalp and give him pills when he's ill. Oh, mommy doesn't seem to realize the little Jackie is now a problem child. She asked the doctor, what's wrong with him? The doctor says, oh, not a teenage rebel, not a spotty problem kid, not a teenage rebel, oh, take a teenage rebel. Oh, not a teenage rebel, not a spotty problem kid, not a teenage rebel. Oh, take a teenage rebel away. A rebel, a teenage rebel, a rebel, a teenage rebel. Churches for the godly, no. Rules for the unruled, no. Rules for the unruled.
Okay, you're listening to the Outcast, and that was Just Another Teenage Rebel. Great Karen there. Can you still hit those high notes there?
Couldn't hit the red. Doesn't matter. That was the one and only time I actually sung that song in tune.
Well done. Sounding good. So, yourselves on, then, are you playing kind of bits from your own repertoires then?
Well, we're playing sort of half a dozen Birdie songs, half a dozen Outcast songs, and then the rest are basically ones that we chose that we could play quickly and that we liked.
Yeah.
There's no
Sort of and songs that were sort of big in the sort of harp bar at that time. The sort of well-known songs from the old harp bar DJ.
Yeah.
Things like that there.
Yeah. And also on the bill then, from the main streets of Gilderheart, we have the Defects are reforming as well. Well, I think Buck and Kinky, isn't that right?
And Jukie's back from London
Is
as well.
Jukie back?
Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible.
So there'll be 3 of the...
Yeah.
I don't know who's playing bass for them.
Yeah, well, that was the interesting thing. I mentioned the other day to a few people that they had this song called Brutality, which was about the bad things that went on in Castlereagh Holding Centre, allegedly. And their 2 bass players subsequently joined the RUC. So there you go, there's your punk rock for you. So maybe they'll come along on the night, and jig around.
Probably be working outside.
Yeah. And the Roof Wrecks, which we're going to play in just a second, who are Paul Burgess wrote some fantastic lyrics of that era. So, we're not going to be just wallowing in kind of sad nostalgia. I think there will be a few things to kind of make the whole thing a bit valid. Any plans beyond the evening then, chaps?
Well, if we get through the evening in one piece,
Yeah.
whether we're speaking to each other at the end of it.
We'll never say never, but the original plan was just a one-off gig. There has been sort of talk of maybe doing the same thing down in Dublin,
Right.
which would be quite interesting.
Yeah.
And then maybe a pantomime maybe over the Christmas period would be nice.
If we could get Jiminy Cricket or
Yeah.
Jimmy Cricket.
One of the Nolans.
I was slightly kind of behind you chaps. You guys were in the vanguard of the whole thing, but I came along a wee bit later. But I do remember this fantastic arrogance at the time. You're talking about going to Dublin and stuff, and at that time, we ruled Ireland, didn't we? It felt that way anyway.
Did for like a brief period just before U2 sort of took over the world. Yes.
There was this wee band that
I think they backed us up at one stage.
Did
I'm
they?
not sure, but I'll always tell the story anyway. I mean, it sounds good.
It sounds awful, but we did blow them off in Dark Space Festival. We were sort of one of the only bands asked back to play again. But
think they
I mean,
got
they
the
were.
last laugh.
Oh, they did. They were a very good live band even then.
Yeah.
But most
You're
of
right, though. I mean, about that, there was a brief period just
Yeah.
before that there where Northern Ireland was, or Belfast really was, the musical centre of Ireland for about 2 weeks.
I mean, the one thing I will always say, and it's the one thing. I mean, I got really bored with punk really pretty fast, to be honest. After about 1980 I switched off, but over here was completely different from England and New York. You get punk book after punk book, and it's Malcolm McLaren this, Malcolm McLaren that, Richard Hale, that's fine, and that maybe influenced something here, but the difference is over here the people were all about 15, 16. Everybody did it for themselves, and the one thing that amazed me, and I'll still say it to this day, every single band I ever saw here had at least 1 or 2 really killer songs.
Yeah.
And then when we went to England and saw all the bands, they were dreadful. You saw all these bands had thousands of pounds of record company money pumped into them. I mean, they could play the pants off anyone here, but they didn't have a song to their name, and they'd all been, a heavy metal band the week before who'd cut their hair and whatever else. Punk was the latest fashion for them. It was just a marketing trend. And the problem is, in the past, when people have written anything about Northern Ireland, you get undertones, stiff little fingers, possibly good vibrations, a mention of the label, and that's it. And I mean, anyone that was here at the time knows that wasn't even a tenth of the story. In fact, chronologically, it's way off.
Yeah.
So that's why I was very interested in the book, simply because I thought, well, I've read all these books on what happened in punk, but that's not what happened here.
Yeah.
And hopefully this book gives... I mean, as I say, I thought the wee bands here were every bit... That's what Greg was saying. When we went down to Dark Space in 79, there were bands down, the Idiots, Protex ourselves. The Dublin bands were all bands that had been playing for years. They were atrocious. I'd never seen anything like it in my life. I mean, U2 and the Virgin Prunes were the only bands that were slightly different.
Yeah.
The rest of them were like something your granny would have gone and seen.
Yeah.
And that's why the Belfast bands were so different.
Yeah.
They really were different. We didn't realise at the time because we were all just doing our own thing.
Yeah.
but they were so different and they were
Okay.
so good.
Well, thanks again, Greg, and to Brian. Well, we'll see you in a couple of weeks, on Thursday week.
See if you're still talking to us after.
And we're going to listen to a great song now from the Roof Wrecks, and we shall be joined in just a wee minute then by Pete and Sean, I think. But in the meantime, thanks very much, chaps.
Thank you.
There you go, there's Roof Wrecks in capital letters. You're listening to Cross the Line, and Stu Bailey and his pals have gone a bit punk rock crazy tonight. Earlier then that was Brian Young and Greg Cowan from Shame Academy. We've got the third member of Shame Academy here, Pete Burns, and we've also got Sean. I only knew you as Shawnee Rotten. Sean, you've got a real name, haven't
I have indeed, it's Sean O'Neill.
So you and your pal Guy, about 4 or 5 years ago, there was this publication called Makes You Want to Spit.
It came out in about 98.
Yeah.
Started work on it in 96.
Yeah.
So it's been about 7 years in the making, the book that I was handed on the way in here tonight. So
Right. Is it a good moment then?
it is, it's just like, it's as exciting as whenever I've had my two children, you know. It's that good.
Very good. So
You're in trouble, mate.
yeah, watch yourself. So what was it? Was it kind of an itch that you just had to keep scratching at and documenting and gathering photographs and
Basically.
chronologies?
Basically, myself and Guy have been collecting records for years, and we've been conversing with people in Europe and America and further afield, and they were forever asking questions about how many records did rip-off records release and things like that. So we were forever writing out in pieces of paper this information and posting it off to them. So we thought, hey, this would be a good idea if we even typed it up and got something together. And when we started that, it ran for a couple of years, and with that much stuff, we put it out in like a glorified fanzine and true punk DIY tradition. And we made 300 of those, and they went like hotcakes.
They were great. Yeah, I bought a couple for friends. Made a lot of people very happy.
Good. Yeah, well, we only asked one shop in Belfast to sell them, Robbins and Dr. Roberts, and he shifted bucket loads, and we did the rest just mail order, word of mouth. And once they stopped. But of late there was a guy in somebody on eBay was bootlegging them and selling them there for about $10 a piece. So
Wow.
with red covers on them. So there's obviously a market there, you know. And this thing's like chalk and cheese compared to that.
Well, this is it. I've got one in my hand now. It's massive. It's like a kind of a phone directory, and it's got a colour cover on it. It's got D. Wilson gobbing.
It does, yes. That's a nice pitch for the Outcasts at
It's the
the
Outcasts
pound there as well.
It's the Outcasts with Buck from the Defects in the crowd, wearing a kind of a Johnny Rotten shirt and sneering very, very majestically. And loads of kind of people have written their kind of testimonials or their memories of that. Can you kind of give us the names of some of the people that were doing it?
Well, with Colin Bateman in there, we got a nice piece actually from Joe Strummer.
Really?
In November of last year, so
Wow.
possibly one of the last things he penned.
Yeah.
We actually went and got stuff from bands that bothered their backside to come over here and play during that time. So we've contributions from people like Rat Scabies, John Jack Burnell and stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, I remember a funny story there about the Rat Scabies one. When I phoned him up to get the piece, I asked him when would be a good time to call, and he says, well, before EastEnders or after EastEnders. And I'm going, what? This is Rat Scabies, you know?
So in terms of there's that burst of energy, Pete, and Stalag 17 was kind of close to the end of that period. And I could be wrong, but I got the feeling that you were picking up the kind of ideals from bands like Crass and stuff like that, who were trying to find a way out of punk into a different kind of area or a different kind of ideology. Am I right or wrong?
Very much so. Well, I mean, the whole focus shifted away from, I think, a lot of the big bands like the Clash and stuff were picked up by the major labels, and after a while, they were, as far as we were concerned, wrung dry. Didn't really have anything to do with the punk roots that a lot of us aspired towards. And I suppose, in a sense, it went underground. Most of the stuff that came out, or a lot of stuff that came out in the early 80s was labels like the Cross label or, Mortar Hate or whatever. And we were just sort of picking up on that idea that, it wasn't so much a fashionable thing anymore, but there was still like a lot of bands about, loads of bands needing to play gigs. So we just continued on the same vein, looking for venues and, collectivising a bit.
Yeah, so out of that really came the organisation fondly known as Jarrows then, isn't that correct?
That's the one, aye. And that's exactly where it came from. It was just a load of us who were knocking about. I mean, there was things like the Anarchy Centre that happened in the early 80s, which was great, because it just showed us anyhow how many bands there were about. And it really created an interest then. I mean, we would have continued on from the Anarchy Centre with places like the Manhattan and Labour Club and stuff like that. But then you just ran into the,
Paddy Ray's.
Paddy Ray's, aye. He never put on any gigs though.
I remember the Anarchy Centre watching One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and people
right.
doing punk poetry and stuff in the middle of it all. It was all quite exciting.
Well, funny enough, you mentioned that because Dave Heyman there was on to me at the last weekend, and he's actually putting together a film at the moment. If you remember the first few weeks, there was like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Scum, Rude Boy, Life of Brian, something like that. They've done this on the 5th week, The Rude Life of the Cuckoo Scum, he called it, and they had videoed one of the days in the centre.
Right.
So they're in the process of putting that together at the moment.
Right. And so it must be kind of quite heartening then, Pete, see that, that obviously this was quite a long time ago where these kind of skirmishes around the edge of society were had, and now there seems to be about a fourth generation kind of punk rock idea coming out. And I know a lot of people who are kind of vaguely or heavily involved in Jarrows that are kind of formulating things probably more succinctly than people ever did way back in those days, isn't that right?
Yeah, well, I mean, they've had a fair few years putting things on and keeping things going, and I think just with coming up towards the end there, when the energy started to run a wee bit low in Jarrows and there wasn't as many volunteers coming through the door, there was a real surge. I mean, towards the end there, a lot of the stuff that we put on, there was such an interest in something like Jarrows continuing to happen, and there's still loads of bands lining up, waiting to come over, wanting to play, and yeah, I mean, they've really got it together.
Brilliant.
And hopefully, they're talking about looking at somewhere now to continue putting on
to
stuff
carry
like
the
that,
struggle forward.
Oh,
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, well, tickets then for the 6th, they're still available, aren't they, Sean? Yeah.
They are. I believe there's some left. Yes.
Yeah, but when you get pre-orders for a punk rock gig, that means that people are genuinely interested. I think so. I think it will probably sell out.
I'd like to think so. There's quite a few tickets sold already.
And Pete's guest list is full, isn't it, Pete?
It's totally full.
So don't even think about it.
I'm the only one on it.
Yeah, I kind of had to add a wee personal bit here. I was trying my hardest, Pete. Sean, I don't know how far you got on. Photo research. I was at some gig. Well, I was at a Clash gig years ago. Somebody took a picture of me with Joe Sturmer and the Clash. And about 3 weeks later, somebody turned up a gig with a photocopy of it. And it was one of those moments it passed. And I've spent the rest of my life trying to track down that part. You never find it? No?
Didn't know.
So there you go.
Didn't
Peel
look.
over the radio waves. Anybody finds it, I'll marry them. I'll pay them money, whatever it is, because it's bound to be sitting in somebody's attic. That's a frustrating thing about it. But it was a great. I beg your pardon. It was a great photo as well. So, but there you go. I'm sure this is kind of going to be a lifelong thing, isn't it? There's going to be all sorts. There's going to be the DVD of it makes you want to spit at some stage.
I
but
hope not. I'm looking forward to getting my life back.
Is that right?
Baby to bed, yes.
Yeah. Well, there you go, fellas. Thank you very much. And I'll certainly be at that gig. And there'll be a hilarious kind of school reunion kind of atmosphere, I think, at that as well. All these kind of people. And you're trying to remember who that person was or what they looked like when they had hair or before they lost it or whatever, you know. But that's brilliant. And the book will be on sale when?
Be on sale from the 6th of November.
Yeah, lovely. Okay, well, thanks very much, Pete and Sean.
Thank you.
And we're going to move on now on across the line in a 600% Dynamite new reggae compilation. This is Johnny Osborne and Ready or Not.